And we're live. Welcome to the Gordox Pub, where the drinks are free, but only if you see Rich's face.
Hey, that's a good gimmick. We won't ever have to worry about free drinks.
I know.
Well,
To be fair,
until
you
my
have to be present to get the free drink too. So
yeah, right. We're not sending one. It's illegal to send them through the mail, right?
Sure.
I thought so. Although I am not mentioning any names, but somebody that you know sent me something through the mail, like alcohol, but it's not legal.
Oh,
They were saying that it was something other than what it was.
oh,
And you know this person as well as, well, pretty close to as well as I do.
really?
Oh, yes.
Huh.
We usually talk to each other at least once a week.
I have an idea of who that is then, and I have an idea of what it was. So,
Well, there you go.
I should
If
probably.
you know who it is, you probably know what it was because that's
His
what
thing.
that person's. Huh?
I said that's his thing.
And that's what that person's preference is also.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, oh yeah. By the way, I've had some thoughts. I was going to run them by you, but why don't you tell everyone, what we're doing tonight? Trying to take over the world.
It's in the description box, but it's actually the title, right? But anyway,
Because that's what we wanted. We wanted to read.
yeah. Well, we want people to read. Anyway, I'm inking this pinup that could possibly be also a splash page in our comic book.
There we go.
Graphic novel, comic book. Brain vomit at this point, right?
Well, at this point, but I tried to take a different tact with it for a little bit. So, like, we kind of had an idea of the type of opening we wanted, but I didn't feel like we were, or at least I wasn't really nailing it for you. And I was trying to get, and I know you wanted more, I think, action in the beginning than what I gave.
I don't think I'm necessarily worried about so much as action as something visually going on.
Okay, so I have an idea, at least a little. I mean, again, we're not changing anything drastically. I'm just actually where I kind of ended my meager attempt of a opening script. I was trying to figure out how to make that last part or the next part more or more part of the story. I don't know how else to put it. So we see him getting out of the situation. We see him, doing what he does more. So like literally, how we were going through and we were like, okay, so we kind of want like a James Bond type opening pre-title sequence.
That's probably where you got the action idea from.
Well, okay, but
I just wanted it to look like it's not static, like it's not the only story.
Well, that's fine, but I was still like, okay, so if that's what we want, I want to go look at these. Like, I'm sure my wife thought I was goofing off, and now my entire YouTube feed is like nothing but James Bond stuff. But A, that's not necessarily a bad thing. B, so I was like, okay, so really that intro is always after the first film. It was always centered around kind of a big stunt. So like you gotta
Right.
have like so I was trying to, which is why I was asking you about, well, part of it I was asking you about trains because trains kind of made sense in my brain, but caravans work too, and so I was like, you know what? Let's not mess with it. Like I was fine with not messing with it, um, but I was
Yeah.
really
The
trying to
sorry.
come up. So like when I asked about trains, it's because I had an idea kind of for a train, and you're like, I don't want to do a train heist, which I it's not exactly that, but I was like,
Well,
okay,
they did that whole episode of Firefly based on a train heist, and then they redid it in Star Wars Solo.
huh, yeah.
It was basically
So,
the same thing. I just
but
didn't want to do that again because I felt like it was now cliche, you know.
so I've had this idea, a name. That's all I've had for a couple weeks. Um, the name of a place of all things that I
Okay,
thought the idea for the name of the place was Greywater, which
that's interesting.
because well, so
No,
like
no, it is.
okay, so I mean I like that it's got double meanings and
Yep, that's like where you dump your paint.
yeah, yeah. So I had this idea for this. I mean, just the name. Like that's I don't know about you, but I kind of collect names and
It's
you know
funny you say that. I literally just I was on Slack and I opened a message to myself. That's
yeah.
where I kind of keep little notes that I don't want to forget.
Oh yeah.
And I just put like 7 names in there yesterday. So
So
yeah, I do too.
so I had this name Greywater, and then I'm trying to think of this opening, and I want it to be visually different than what I've seen. And oh my goodness, I'm not breathing well. I gotta take some drugs. Hold on a second. Anyway, so I had this idea
That was brain
um,
surgery.
of this. It'll be a coastal city. You know how they're always warning us about how the ocean's going to rise and Florida will be underwater and all that stuff. So I was like, what happens if you have this city area that's coastal or at least on water of some type? And then I was like, oh hey, it's gray water. And then like all the stuff that got submerged wouldn't necessarily be on like you might have tunnels and things underwater that aren't being flooded. That I was like, oh, this is kind of so then I was like, oh, so it's kind of a sewer thing, kind of a sewer run. But it would also have like old train tracks. So like I don't need a train or anything, but I was like, well, that's kind of just the varying levels. And then I mean, if you think like the sewers of New York and how big those things are, and the subway tunnels, and the fact that there are or like I think it's San Francisco that has like a whole like almost city built on top of this or underneath the city, where
Yeah,
like it was.
New York's got old subway or old sewer tunnels that are not part of the new ones, and so does Chicago. Like
So
they redid them, so that's completely feasible.
so I was thinking, okay, this sewer subway run thing might be interesting. Plus, there's the whole water threat that can go along with it. I was like, yeah. So I think there's something there. that I think will be interesting. And I just got to figure out what kind of, big death defying thing he does at the end. Um, but I think there's a lot of good fun stuff to play with that. Like once I had the idea, which was really last night.
So I guess that's what this is. Underground in those tunnels. And that kind of makes sense.
That could be. So some of this stuff, I mean, part of this is kind of pantsing. It's one of those things where I think I have an idea, then I start developing aspects of it, and it's like, oh god, we did not have this as well thought out as possible. So, well, that's just part of. I mean, A, it's kind of the part of the fun, and B, it's just you think you know what's going on, but yeah, I've definitely got a more solid handle on it. It just took a while. Like it basically took a week of me just banging my head, thinking, how does this work? So. I'm hoping this week, if I can get, I couldn't do any work today. I was just pissy, which is really sad because if I had done work, I probably wouldn't be pissy. But at least now that I've talked it over with you, you're not going, oh, that sounds stupid. So
no, I don't think I've done that at all. Like I've had a spot or two where I was like, yeah, I kind of don't like that, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, and normally when you say, oh, I don't really like that, I'm like, all right, cool, we'll move on.
Right, and if I say I don't like that or whatever, it's usually if you talk to me about it and I can see your reasoning behind it, then I find a compromise or something, or you do. So it worked well that way, and I kind of like the fact that we have.
Oh goodness, we have comments and I didn't read them.
Naturally, been considerate.
I was on the wrong page. I apologize.
Hey Jay,
it's Jay. Oh sweet Jesus. Okay, good. He was only on there for a minute. Okay, good. I was worried. I was still on the brand page, and I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, oh crap. So I was actually looking. Page? Or, over where you got comments, banners, brand, private chat.
Brand. Okay.
Brand.
I thought you said brand.
Oh,
I was like, who's brand?
Just some random guy that I'm also streaming with at the exact same time. No.
Right. Hey, brand.
Weird. But, yeah. So anyway, I think that'll also help highlight, because part of this, it's not a milieu story, but it's or milieu, but it's kind of a milieu. Like it's definitely got that. If we're looking at the mice quotient, that's got to be part of it. Like that's got to be a big one.
Well, the mice quotient is framework, so. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it for your benefit.
No, sorry.
Well, because I don't know if everybody knows what the mice quotient is.
Yeah, probably not.
Each letter of mice means something. It's a type of story. So it's a framework for a type of story. When you know what your story is going to be about, you can kind of get a gauge on where it starts and where it stops. Which is why I mentioned when you said milieu, which milieu is society and a different place, different land. Usually a milieu story is like Shogun or Avatar, the movie, where somebody goes someplace they've never been and kind of have to learn about how that place is. So that's the only issue with this being a milieu story, really, is that nobody is coming from someplace else. And they don't have a choice on whether they're going to go back home or stay. And that's really what the milieu, or the milieu story is about, is visiting a different place and then deciding if you're going to stay or leave. But it milieu is heavy in this story.
Well, that's again. I mean, it's not just the label. It's also uh, kind of like well, it's a formula in a way. Not like a formula as in it's formulaic, but as in if you understand the parts that you're highlighting. So I have more of the M and mice, um, but it's also character driven. So that's the C. I mean, every story should probably have a little of all of it. It's just what parts are you highlighting and
Well, I'm
focusing on.
talking like I was talking about the framework. So a
Right.
milieu story has a beginning and an ending, and the beginning is when they go someplace new, and the ending is when they decide if they're going to stay or not. So that's why I said that's not a milieu story, though milieu is heavy in this story
Yeah.
because
Yep.
because uh,
Well,
world building the world building is
yeah.
prevalent. So I don't think that's part of the framework though. Like, and I don't think it's a character story because I don't see anyone changing character because of the story. Though character is an important part of the story. So to me, it's either an idea story, which is what you tend to love, which is heist stories or stuff like that, or an event story, which could be anything from a murder mystery to a quest or a mission. Well, I guess a mission falls into the idea story too. Because the idea story is anything that requires an idea that's planned for and what could go wrong with the planning in the execution. So the beginning, you gather your team or gather your plan, and the story's over when the plan succeeds or fails. So we're either the story either relies on an event or a mission. And I think actually when I think about it that way, it's more a mission, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So that really falls into your ballpark. You
Well,
really do kind of like the whole heist idea or the
oh, I love
planning.
heist stories.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea story is it's all a plan and whether the plan works or goes to shit or
You give me a good heist, even bad heists, I can probably stomach.
you could
I
probably
don't
what?
stomach a bad heist. I mean, I just uh, and there are certain things about heist. Like I've seen people complain about Ocean's 11 because there are so many things that just have to kind of line up, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of part of the magic. Like it's the idea that they planned it that well that it all lines up. That's part of the draw for me. Is just how neat it is. And the better they do at that, the better off it's going to be. But some of that stuff just, I don't know.
Well, I definitely like a good heist story. Even I guess I don't know whether you consider it a good heist story, but I love like Gone in 60 Seconds and
Yeah,
uh, they had that high adrenaline, they have the mission, they have the heist, they have pretty much everything and everything that could go wrong, right?
yeah, that was what, like Nicolas Cage at the height of his career.
And Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that was Nicolas Cage before. Like there was a meme that went around with Nicolas Cage being offered a dinner role, and he's like, "No, thank you," and someone's like, "That's the only role he's ever turned down." but like he had that trouble with the IRS, and he had to take everything he could to make up for what he
Right.
owed.
There's a movie that I'm slowly getting through called Drive Angry.
Is it Ryan Gosling?
No, no, it's with Nicolas Cage, and
Okay, I think I know. Yeah, I think I know. Is it like he? It's almost Ghost Rider in a car.
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they have that whole having sex shootout type shit going on.
Oh, I haven't seen that in the film yet, but yeah,
Yeah, I guess you just
yeah,
haven't got to that part yet.
yeah. Part of it's just it's
It
just
does
my
feel
guilt.
like Ghost Rider and the devil's getting his due type of thing.
Yeah, because there's like a demon that's
Is it
kind
Peter
of.
Fonda too, right? Same guy that played the devil in
I don't think so.
The Bees?
Hold on a second.
I don't know what that
Drive
means.
Angry.
What's that mean, Jay? The Bees?
Oh, he's talking about the Wicker Man. That's what he's talking about. William Fichtner is the accountant, and he is from
William
hell, I
who?
believe. Fichtner.
Fitchner?
Fitchner, sure.
Oh yeah, I like him.
He's the one that
Yep. All right.
and actually I saw a YouTube thing with a scene of his, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting.
Have
Like,
you
he
ever
was the
seen Crossing Borders?
no.
It was a short-lived series, but it was a like a international kind of like a CIA type of unit, except for they did. I don't know. It's kind of like Leverage, except for government stuff.
Okay.
But he was in that show. That was pretty good.
Let's see if I can make this work. No, I could not. Let's just see if I can do it here. Copy image. Paste. No.
What?
Let's see. Oh, this thing is. I gotta save the stupid image that I want to use. Of course, you've probably never seen Nicolas Cage either. That's disturbing. My kids bought for like $10 a glossy picture of Nicolas Cage, which is basically Nicolas Cage as a dill pickle.
Yep, that's kind of what it sounded like.
That's exactly what it is, and it's a little disturbing, I gotta tell you. Every once in a while, I'll just put it on
My first
screen.
thought was it on Rick and Morty?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Nope. God. All right, fine. Screw it. I will do this the technical, difficult way. I'm going to share a screen for a minute in honor of Jay.
In honor of Jay, huh?
Yep. So, I just gotta find it. I don't know how long. Huh? There we go. There you go. Not the bees. Not the bees.
Oh,
That's what he's referring to.
okay.
That movie was so bad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that movie.
Yeah, it was not good. Like,
And it was a remake.
I know. And the first one, I think the original, I think actually kind of holds up, but not that one. Ah, I think people had high hopes for it too, because they're like, "Oh yeah, the Wicker Man, that'll be sweet." But no, it was not that good. Ah, so last time we talked a little bit about this, but I'm going to bring this up again because I've seen a lot more people talking about it online. That's the Silver Surfer thing, and Shalabal and whatever. And people are using this as an argument that Disney will not change because of this. And they may be right, but this Silver Surfer thing had to have been, I mean, part of this, I don't think was going to change from one meeting last week, that proxy fight. Like, it's going to take, if Disney's going to change, which they should,
But they probably won't.
You're right, but it will take time. Like, that is a big
like you can't expect them to take back a movie they put millions of dollars into.
Right, like.
But they'll tank a movie they put millions of dollars into just to teach somebody a lesson.
Yeah,
they've done that before.
But
kind of made me mad too, because originally, and the movie I'm talking about right now is John Carter.
Yeah.
Which is John Carter of Mars.
Right.
Which is, for those who don't know, Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote the Tarzan books. In 1912, he wrote Tarzan. Wrote a series of books where a character goes to Mars and takes place on Mars. And that's John Carter that goes to Mars. But Disney screwed it up. They didn't advertise it as John Carter of Mars, so all the of Mars fans wouldn't have known that they were the Mars books. And originally, it was supposed to be, the trilogy was supposed to be handed off to why can't I think of his name? Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah?
But then Robert Rodriguez did Sin City and included Frank Miller, and he wasn't a member of the Directors Guild, so they yanked it from him. And they gave it to one director, and they took that director off in the middle of it, and they had a budget, someone that was making sure of the budget, and they kept changing the budget during the movie. And then they took that director off in the middle of all the stuff that he was filming and gave it to Andrew Stanton, who was the biggest earner for Disney because he did Finding Nemo and Toy Story. Toy Story was, I think Toy Story 1 and 3 were both Oscar winners or something like that. Oh. But Andrew Stanton wanted to do that, and they messed with him the whole time, and then they pretty much tanked it. They didn't do a good advertising campaign. Nobody knew what it was about. Who's going to go watch a movie called John Carter when they don't know anything about it? And even the previews weren't the highest, weren't the best of the possible previews. All right, so before anybody asks, I just switched from a Feed Nasuki soft tip to an even softer tip, Copic marker. Because I'm going to color a bigger area of black and don't want it to take forever. Of course, my big black marker, the tip dried out, so
that was one of the things. A lot of people in my school are amazed because I have blackboards in my room, and they're like, "Why don't you have marker boards?" And I had marker boards when I taught in Las Vegas, and those markers dried out all the time.
Oh, dry eraser markers.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
it was really bad in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and you can't darken over them because if you do, they erase what's underneath of them.
Well, I mean, as a teacher, that's not that bad, but like the amount of money that I had to spend on dry erase markers was ridiculous because it wasn't in the school budget.
Eli loves dry eraser markers. He's got like 3 dry eraser boards, and he always gets dry eraser markers,
but
so that he can write the date on 10 different things.
Well, keeps him busy.
Yeah. I just thought I mentioned it that Eli liked them too. So.
Well, so the room I have had blackboards, and like they'll put whiteboards in. I'm like, or I'll just use chalk. It works just fine. And
right.
I actually went ahead. There's some Korean chalk that is freaking amazing. So
Korean chalk?
Yeah, I was reading about how there was this shortage because the original company that made this chalk went out of business and people hoarded the crap out of it. And then another company bought it, and so they're making it again. But there's a higher, I think it's clay content. So they're not real brittle. They're really bright. They erase well. It's just good chalk. And once I tried them once, I was like, oh, this is nice. But I was reading an article about how math teachers preferred this one particular type of chalk. And so I tried it, and yeah, I'm kind of hooked on it. So it's a little pricey, but I don't care.
That's going to work for these markers.
Well, it's not as expensive as markers.
Well, I don't know. How much is their chalk?
It depends on how much you buy and at one time. And I mean, it's not cheap. Like, I nearly cried when I dropped a box because I knew that was going to break, and they did. I was like, oh. But for the most part, whatever. It's not that bad. I don't know. It's like $25 for, I forget how many. But a box, I think about, I don't know, like a old government cheese box, I think was $25. I don't know if you've ever seen government cheese.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've had my fair share of snacking on that stuff.
My grandmother used to get it, and then she could never eat as much as what they gave her. And so a lot of times my father would come home with it. And I never really liked the American cheese, but man, when we got cheddar, that stuff, I could have eaten the whole block. Like, I loved that stuff. I'm sure it's not the best cheddar in the world, but when you're a kid and you got a block,
like sterilizing agents in it, or
whatever, it was good. It must not have sterilized me because unless Rhonda has some secrets she'd like to tell me. But
well, either that or maybe you could have had a dozen.
That's true. Or maybe it explains,
We'll stop there.
Yeah. For the record, I love my 2 boys. They are fabulous and wonderful. Always impressed by them. No, Thaddeus was... So Thaddeus has basically a room for Legos. Like, it is nearly my dream as a child, what this child has. But he had this idea, and so he built like this little post-apocalyptic station. And I was like, oh, that's almost exactly like what Rich was talking about. And it was kind of funny because you were talking about
pictures from all angles and all different lightings.
Yeah. So I was like,
oh, really?
If you're looking for another, like, I was like, I think I could like, this is a good look. This is like the feel for this. I was like, might be able to use this. He's like, really? Because he thought I was going to ask him to draw something, and I was like, no. This right here is pretty neat. He's better at art at his age than I was, I think. I mean, at his age, I guess I was. No, I don't think I did. I don't think I did portraits till I was a junior. So I guess I was a little bit. I've never seen him do a portrait, but overall, I would just say his natural proclivity is better than mine. So I'm okay with that. I've always thought
a parent talking.
Huh?
That's not a parent talking or anything.
Yeah, whatever. I've seen parents, like, they get kind of uppity about their kids. Like, if their kids are better at something, they get defensive. And I'm just like, hell yeah, be better than me, please.
Right, that's the idea. That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. So.
Why would you want to have kids if you didn't want them to do better than you did?
Well, some people never really wanted to have kids, and it shows.
Okay. But, yeah, there you go. But, like, why would you want to have kids and not want to have them?
I wanted kids. Yeah. For a long time, I did not want kids, and we did not have kids. And then a friend of mine was, at the time, I didn't know him. He was a student teacher, and they put him across the room from me in his room by himself without any supervision. They kind of like, oh, I know we're not paying you to do this, but can you kind of keep an eye on him? Yeah, of course. And the first day, or the day before the first day of school, I think, his wife gave birth to their first child. So he was student teaching, a new parent, and he was waiting tables at like Red Lobster or something at night. I mean, the guy was just constantly working. And I thought, well, if he could do it, certainly I can.
That's a good reason to get into a lifetime job.
Well, it just kind of, some of the fears I had just kind of, I guess, went away. Or I didn't think they were insurmountable. Because a large portion of me not wanting kids.
Because you were afraid?
Well, I didn't really think I was necessarily qualified. And some people might still argue that. So, who knows?
I would say you're uniquely qualified. If you patiently deal with other people's children all day long, you're uniquely qualified to deal with your own.
Oh, that's not necessarily true, because I remember, like, my mother worked most of my life for a nursing home. She was a nurse.
I thought you were going to quote Pink Floyd for a second.
No, but my mom worked as a nurse, and so she would come home and she would just be like, I have listened to people moan and scream and click and clack all day long. So she wanted it quiet all the time. And I was not one to sit still, and so she did not like that. But it's one of those things I try to remember. If I'm frustrated with work, I'm like, I'm not frustrated with my family. I love them. Right. So, just definitely a different perspective. But I was telling my older boy tonight at dinner, I was like, there are lots of things my father did amazingly well. There are some things I'm still in awe of that he did, but there are other things that I was like, I'm never going to do that. And I try not to do those things. And then there are other things that I said, I will never do that as a parent. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I will.
Well, I think, that's because parenting is a learning experience.
Oh, heck yeah, it is.
But so is growing up. So growing up, you're like remember when I was talking about, like, my kids always get the benefit of the doubt first.
Right.
Like I will fucking go to prison for my kids because I love them that much, and I will not let them be in a place where I don't stand up for them.
Right.
And that is because, no one did that for me, right? And I want them to have a better life than I did. So it just directly relates to what you were saying. It's like I've seen things as I was growing up that were definitely not right. Whether it was just a parenting thing or just right by your kids or right by your, offspring, brother, sister. Well,
Right.
not in my case, brother, sister, but I was pretty close with some cousins. So
Yeah.
they're basically my cousin, brother, sisters. Like I really think of them as my, my very, very close relatives.
Yeah.
Like I think of their kids as my nieces and nephews, even though they're technically not.
Well, because we looked this up.
I definitely learned that you learn as much by how you're treated wrong as by how you're treated right. And as much by how you think you're treated wrong as when you grow up and can look back on it and realize that you weren't treated as wrong as you thought. I think that's a natural state of being, right? Like anyone that comes from a background or comes from a place where they're trying to be better, get better themselves.
Yeah.
Always has to do some introspection and gaze backwards to see that they don't make the same mistakes, right? The same mistakes as your parents did, whatever.
Yeah.
Or same mistakes that they've already made. So I think that when you look at it and you go, my father made some mistakes and my father did some amazing things, what you're doing is going, how can I be a better dad?
Yeah.
Not than your father, but just better dad. And that makes you uniquely qualified to be a good dad.
I thought it was funny that, and it's kind of cool. I kind of wish it wasn't about this, but last time I was at my dad's, I was complaining about something that the boys were doing. Basically, the boys were not living up to their potential. And my father looked at me and he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't know what that's like. Oh gosh, you mean they could do better and they're just not?" I was like, "Shut up."
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I've always done the best I could.
That's not
given
true.
The circumstances.
There are plenty of times I did not do the best I could.
That's why I qualified it with given the circumstances.
Oh, that's one of those things where
different.
For some reason I was looked down as the non-academic child because I didn't want to sit still and I didn't want to. There's a lot of stuff that I can quickly see through the BS, and once I recognize that it's BS, I just have a very hard time forcing myself to do it.
It's kind of irony, huh? They don't think of you as the academic one, and
I know.
You live in academia now?
I know. You would think. But no, my brother was always the golden boy. And, well, one of us has a master's and the other one does not. Now, the one with the master's gets paid a heck of a lot less than the other one. But hey, whatever. But still, apparently I can do the school thing.
But that's not academia. Academia is not about pay.
Oh, I know. Although my current boss was like, I've never worked at a place where teachers want to get paid for all that they do. I'm like, really? I'm pretty certain everyone wants to get paid for all that they do. You are crazy.
That shit with me, I'll stick you.
Yeah.
You're going to get paid.
I thought it was very strange. I was like, really? You're just admitting you want stuff for free? Okay.
This is why I like Copics.
Yeah, because you can cover.
Because I can refill.
Oh, well,
This is
I
a
can't
refill.
see that. Ah.
That's what I was saying. I held it up. This is a refill. I just don't want to get anything on the actual drawing.
I don't know why I pretend like, okay, so the camera, my camera, is set up at a height where if I look at my laptop monitor, which is where I keep the StreamYard stuff, it looks like I'm looking into the camera, which I think tends to look better on camera. But I have Twitch up on my big screen, and so a lot of times I look at the big screen because, you know, it's the big screen. But then I'm looking up and I think it looks stupid because it just looks, I don't know, just nobody needs to see up my nose. So half the time when you're talking, you know, there's that delay with what's on StreamYard versus what's on Twitch.
Right.
So I didn't see you raise it up until after you had said, that's why I raised it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, there you did. So
Oh, look. There it is.
yeah, weird. Sometimes that's kind of, I have students like that. They're on a 5-second delay. So
That
and
could
those are
explain a lot. You know, maybe think of them as in a 5-second delay.
yeah, I'll just think of,
a delay.
are you on Twitch? That's what I'm going to start asking kids. Are you on Twitch?
Well,
They won't
I don't
know.
think it's delay if you're on Twitch. It's delay if you've got StreamYard open and on Twitch.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just kind of funny.
Though it might be a delay that you wouldn't recognize if you're on Twitch.
I've had some students where literally you could literally count like just 5 seconds and then they would catch up. And it was the weirdest thing because like I would, you know, you say something like, I don't know, a gerund is a verb that ends in ing and acts like a noun. And they're like, I don't get it. And then you just count 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's the processing speed. That's okay. So it's just kind of funny watching them process these things sometimes. The color on my laptop is way crisper. So I do like the way it looks better there. But now gosh darn it. Oh, I knew I had some. Okay.
Gummy bears.
Nope, I was looking for something to blow my nose.
Oh,
So
I thought you were in search of gummy bears to.
oh god, I wish. Albany's Ultimate Gummy Bears, in case anyone ever wants to know, those are the best gummy bears in the world. Put them in the fridge, not in the freezer, in the fridge. They are fantastic.
What he's really saying is, if you want to tip him, you can send them to this P.O. box.
They are, I don't know what makes them so, gosh, they're good. Way better than, like, people like, oh, Haribo and stuff. No. Albany's. Best ones. And the funny thing is, really, about the best way to buy Albany's is to not buy Albany's. You can find them, if you find a package of gummy bears, look to see if it has an A on the belly, and that'll be made from Albany's. But they sell them under all kinds of different names. So sometimes you can find like a CVS brand of gummy bears, and it's the exact same thing, and they're cheaper. So I tend to look, but I normally can't find Ultimate like that. Normally, that's just you can only get those in the big bags, and I love them, but they're not necessarily the healthiest snack. So, although they're made with real fruit, or at least real fruit juice, but yeah, if I'd like to avoid diabetes, I'm gonna have to not eat those all the time. Did you watch the eclipse or did you see the eclipse? Was it like visible? Like, did you have the
Oh
whole?
yeah, we were like 90% or 98% or something like that.
Right.
It really just got to a very, very thin sliver.
It was pretty darn neat here. So,
But if Eli was feeling better and was willing to travel, which he wasn't willing to get out of bed really.
yeah.
But if he was, then we would have ridden to a place because there were plenty of places directly in the path.
Yeah.
We just a little bit away from them, just a little bit.
We had a great view, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was awesome because we were just sitting in our backyard, and I'm there. First, I'm there with my family, so that's always a good thing. But at first I was kind of jaded about the whole thing, and then when it happened, I was like, oh, that is kind of cool. So, like, I wasn't worried about it at all. And then for some reason, I don't know what, my wife decided, oh, we need glasses, and so it's like she went hunting for glasses yesterday. Luckily, we got some.
Oh shit! My wife planned that out a long time ago.
Oh God, I thought we were just gonna basically ignore it, and
yeah, she had two of them, and she was like, "Oh, we need to get a third one for Eli," and then we did, and Eli was like in bed, and he's like, "No, I'm not getting up and looking out my window." That's all he had to do was get up and look out his window.
Yeah,
he was like, "No."
At a certain point, I understand that. So.
Oh yeah, no, we weren't saying he had to. We were just, giving him a method if he wanted to. We're just making things available. Oh.
Hi.
Hi, Brett. I can't go to school tomorrow. He says.
Okay.
He can't go to school until he's free of his
illness
affliction for a couple of days.
No.
Water, yeah. Steal my water? Why are you stealing my water? Well, I know where you're getting it from. No, you're a punk. Yes, sir. Oh, you're happening. Oh, it's going to happen.
So, normally, my younger son really does not like going to Texas Roadhouse because of how loud it is, and it tends to make him uneasy. But yesterday he asked to go, and I'm like, all right, cool, we'll go. It's fine.
You're like, wait a minute, are you all right?
So we go, but ever since I got sick, like weeks ago, I have not been able to eat much, which is okay with me because I don't need to eat anywhere near as much as I used to. But it's kind of weird. So, like last night, I got the absolute smallest steak I could get, a 6-ounce steak, um, and I could barely get through that. And then, like today, I've had half a sandwich and some shrimp, and that's all I like because we went out to eat again tonight, and I'm like, well, I guess that'll be my lunch for tomorrow, assuming my children don't eat it. But I mean, it's kind of weird.
How big of an assumption is that?
Well, I offered one of like my older boy. I was like, look, there's enough here. We both could have lunch. Just don't eat it, and then lunch is taken care of. So we're down to just one child might eat it. And my wife had leftovers, my other son had leftovers, and the third one was at a track meet. So he'll probably get like Burger King on the way home. And I don't have to, I'm hoping I'll have lunch tomorrow. Which is funny because it's not like I'm going to eat much, but I still like to make sure I have it. Because one of these days I'm going to get hungry. I can, but until then, so I was telling my wife, I was like, it's ever since I was sick, I've not had much of an appetite. And she's like, that's a problem after you lose 100 pounds. I was like, oh, thanks, babe. It's like, until then, just, enjoy it, I guess. Which some of the stuff then, like...
Well, that's a nicer answer than I could leave you by the side of the road.
Well, but, I mean... She's kind of right. I mean, like, there are certain things I would never order because you're not going to get that much food. Whereas now I'm like, oh yeah, well that's the perfect size. And I don't know. I'll be okay if I lose weight. I'll appreciate it. So, although I'm a little worried because the last time I felt like this, I had a hernia. So I keep like rubbing around my belly to see if like anything popped out weird. But yeah, I had a hernia, navel hernia, I think is what she called it, the doctor. It looked like I had a kitten underneath my skin of my belly. And so I'm looking at this thing and it's like, yeah, that doesn't look good. And then I kind of pushed it all back in. And then it all spilled back out again. And my doctor was like, you did what? I was like, yeah, I just kind of pushed it in. She's like, don't do that. No. You could die. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, we need this to be operated on, like, soon. And the weird part is, the guy that operated on me, unbeknownst to me, because I didn't know who it was at the time, he and I became pretty good friends later on. So I didn't know about it. In fact, it wasn't until like we had both gotten our black belts together, and my wife was working for the hospital, and she looked up my medical records for some reason, spying on me, I guess. I don't know, but she's like, "Oh, hey, you know who did your hernia surgery? That's Jeremy." It's like, "Oh, I wonder if he knows that." So I asked him. I was like, do you know that you and I met before this class? He's like, really? I was like, yeah, you did a hernia surgery. Huh. No, I didn't know that. So.
He's just trying to make you feel better. I had a client that I tattooed. And
thanks, Jay.
What?
Jay said, holy shart. Or start, or I don't know. He put an asterisk in front of the for the I.
Shit.
Yeah, I know.
I think you can type shit.
I'm sure I could. I can spell it.
I was talking about him, but anyway.
Or my favorite one, sugar honey iced tea.
So I during my surgeries when I had that really bad infection,
Yeah.
one of the people that I tattooed assisted, which is really weird because they uh, they have to move a testicle.
Oh, fun.
So like I said something to her later, and like about having been out because I had to have surgeries and I was in a coma temporarily. And she's like, "Yeah, I know. I was a surgical assistant." I'm like, "Well, that would have been nice to know before this conversation."
Oh, it's always weird when you look at someone like, have you been inside me?
Well, I don't know if I was like that, but I definitely was like, well, now I'm kind of shy about.
Well, that's like, I think. So I had to, I'm 46, right? Yeah, 46. And, they're like, all right, you're old enough. You got to have that favorite thing that all men love having done after they turn 45.
Yeah.
So whatever, until I think one of the nurses that was in there was the mom of one of my students. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't one of your students.
That's true. That is my actual nightmare. Like, I am
that would be
terrified.
That would be hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, it's, oh, yeah. Like, I've had nurses before, like in the ER, but nothing was going on really. Like, I had chest stuff going on, but it wasn't like anything real bad. But man, yeah, and I know they're all professionals and blah blah blah, but man, does that just terrify me. Like, my wife is always concerned when we go out to eat, if we go to a restaurant and I say, oh, that's one of mine, as in one of my students, or was one of my students, and she's like, are we getting spitters? I was like, I don't think so. Or maybe.
It's possible.
Maybe we should. Yeah. So. But whatever. Not much I can do about it. I saw a post. It was a memory that Facebook popped up, and I was actually like, I don't remember saying this, but it's accurate. That when you're a teacher and you have a Walmart in your town, the Walmart is Cheers in your norm. Because I swear, every time I go to Walmart in this town, hey, Mr. Brewer, hey, Mr. Brewer, which is very nice.
Well,
and I.
So that's because of the other reason. Because you're going to guaranteed see somebody at Walmart because everybody goes to Walmart.
Yeah. But,
everybody goes to Walmart.
When I'm buying underwear or something, I don't need my students seeing me. So.
When you're a tattoo artist, you cannot go to a bar without somebody breathing all nasty in your face and going, how much to fix this? And it's like a nasty old piece of shit that's going to be months in the making of fixing, and they really want you to tell them $25. Because if you say anything else, it's like, that much? Really? That's crazy. Fuck that. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
and that's why you need it fixed.
Well, that's why any tattoo artist hates going to bars, because we're the tattoo man, and the minute that half the alcoholics in the bar find out that that's the tattoo man, they want to talk business while they're fucked up. It's kind of like Norm at Cheers, except for worse. Nobody's breathing in your face and breathing shit in your face. You want to puke. you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I watched
Oh.
Born on the 4th of July last night
Oh
for the
yeah.
first time. It
Okay.
pretty much sickened me.
I haven't seen that movie in decades.
Well, it pretty much sickened me because it takes advantage of all the people that were injured in the war. It makes it look like they would all be against the war, and they're all against Republicans because it's Republicans that started the war.
Wow. Um, okay.
Well, it's sickening because it didn't address really what was going on. The character didn't accept responsibility. I mean, he did originally accept responsibility for his part in it because he chose to go off. He went off and volunteered before he was legal age to. The stuff that happened to him, a lot of it was his own fault. Some of it was, but some of it wasn't. But then it was an excuse to be an anti-war or anti anybody that went to war film because the general theme of it was, I don't care if you served in Vietnam, you're still a piece of shit. Like, I don't care if you're a veteran, so what?
Yeah, I don't
That,
remember it well enough to be able to comment. Doesn't that's Tom Cruise in it, right?
yep, Tom
Yeah.
Cruise. It actually has Willem Dafoe, Tom Cruise, uh, Stephen Baldwin for a small part of it.
If I remember correctly, and I might not, but I think we rented that and Good Morning Vietnam on the same night.
Hmm. Good Morning Vietnam was the better choice.
Yes, yes, it was. That movie is fantastic.
And nothing against Tom Cruise. He played the part as good as he could have.
Yeah.
But the whole movie it just felt like it was there to denigrate anyone that wasn't anti-war and denigrate anyone that was anti-democrat,
Yeah.
which that's that whole politics shit that shouldn't be involved in it. um I notice if you watch Oliver Stone's movies,
Yeah.
that's generally the themes. They're anti-war movies because he had been to war and apparently he didn't, whatever. He had it bad or changed his view or whatever on war. But like John Milius, who did he did Red Dawn, he did Conan too, but he did Red Dawn and he did I love the smell of napalm in the morning. That was his script.
Oh, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that was his script. Period. The whole thing.
Hmm.
But he had always wanted to go off to war, and when he was given the script for Red Dawn, it was an anti-war movie, and he got a hold of it.
Not so much.
Not so much. If you haven't watched the documentary Milius, you need to. It's so fucking cool. That guy. when he was making Conan, he watched Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it,
Yeah.
and he was like, "That's the guy for Conan." And he tried to propose it to Dino De Laurentiis, and Dino De Laurentiis was like, "No, no, not him. He doesn't have any star power." so,
Ah.
so he goes. John Milius goes. I think he jumped up on the desk, and he was like, "It's gonna start Dustin Hoffman."
That's Conan.
And Dino De Laurentiis was like, "Sold." Can you imagine?
No.
Dustin
I'd be a little grumpy if I put money into that, and then that's what I got. I mean, I suppose it all came out in the end, but
well, it's John Milius's character. It really just speaks to who he is, really.
that's so funny. Like, I mean, a part of that's the camera, but like on my big screen, especially, the people are getting washed out from the high contrast. So it's kind of neat. I don't know. I've always
they're starting to come in to focus as I'm focusing on them.
Well, the camera keeps trying to, but then also I can see the background stuff very easily, and then of course, the stuff that's still just pencil is
right.
It's getting there. I've always found that somewhat like soothing as you make it kind of come to life. So when you can, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just adding this part, makes it pop more, and start seeing some of the potential come through. Have you seen who they cast for the new James Bond?
Yes, but I don't remember who the hell it is.
Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name. The only thing I can think of, he's the guy I think that's playing Craven, and he was in Bullet Train.
I know that.
Yeah, I think so. I could double check before I start saying too
much.
much.
I'm just saying I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
And you can double check if you want, but
I feel like I probably should if I'm going to say it online.
I wasn't getting at that, actually. That's kind of what I was saying.
I was.
No, I mean, I was saying, never mind. I feel like I'm going around in circles. I wasn't telling you to look it up. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't telling you to look it up. I wasn't telling you can't. Just I wasn't telling you to.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yep.
And let's just go to Aaron. There we go. But I'm pretty certain that's the guy that's going to be in the new Craven film. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I was wrong.
They would have had to have something for him to have been in to get their attention.
He's the guy that played Pietro Maximoff in Age of Ultron? No, I was right. He's also going to be... Okay, I don't have to feel bad now. Wow, he looks wildly different as Quicksilver.
Oh, Quicksilver.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I didn't make the connection with that, oddly enough, but
Well,
yeah,
there was two Quicksilvers.
definitely
Well,
created the
never mind.
hunger.
It wasn't two Quicksilvers. It was
Oh, I know, but the one who
Greenballer.
died.
What's that?
Joker 2 trailer is out. Really, Jay? Well, after the stream, I might have to watch that. I actually, well, what did you think about the Joker film?
We could actually watch that the preview for it. We just have to pause it and make commentary on it.
Oh, a reaction video?
Well, then way we're not actually. It's fair use and not using their content.
Ah. What did you think about the first Joker film, though?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
You never saw it?
Nope, didn't watch it.
Huh. I
I was
saw it.
not interested.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I watched it and I guess I was entertained, but I was like, I don't need to see that again.
Joker for me
So,
is a Batman villain, and I don't think he deserves his own title. He's not like Magneto, where Magneto isn't really a villain, even though he can be an antagonist.
yeah,
Dead out villain.
I suppose I'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a movie I've necessarily been looking for. I mean, part of me kind of is interested in it just because I want to see if it works better or if it even works as like the sequel even works. I don't know. That's kind of weird that I just kind of want to look at it to see what does it work. But I'm really not I'm not craving a Joker 2. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I always qualify it with, it's fine if you like it.
Oh, I know.
It wasn't interesting for me. Like it really didn't. I don't know why, but there was nothing about it that said you really want to see this movie. So I didn't.
Well, I mean, there are parts of
No,
it
it's
that
funny. That's the same thing with Born on the 4th of July until I learned that it was based on a true story,
yeah.
which apparently one of the writers is the main character.
Oh.
But yeah, I wasn't interested in that until after I learned that. So I went and sought it out to see it because I learned that, and then I saw it and I was like, I was right in the first place. I just shouldn't have watched it. Sometimes you gotta trust it. Trust your judgment. Trust your feelings.
Yeah. I don't know. Joker 2 might be something I watch at home where, if I don't like it, I can just go, nope. Whereas if I go to the theater, there are very few films I've ever walked out on once I pay to see it at the theater. Which is kind of stupid because, if you're not enjoying yourself, why give up your time as well as your money?
Because you spent your money, that's why.
Yeah.
You want to get your money's worth, even if it sucks. I've done it plenty of times.
Jay says he likes Joaquin Phoenix.
I do too, but that doesn't mean that I want to see the Joker portrayed as the hero of his own story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of, yeah. It's a very odd structure too, and I just I don't know. I kind of like the ending of it because then it's like, wait, was any of that real? Was it all fake? Like you're never really sure, and I've always kind of enjoyed that, but I don't know. I suppose when I watch the trailer, I'll make another opinion on it, but
you'll make a decision on it whether it looks interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the casting of Lady Gaga just I'm like, I don't know if it bodes well that you're doing this kind of casting. Like the story's not good enough, so you did a shock casting type thing. So
Do you think that's what that's what it is?
I don't know. I mean, she can act. She's been in stuff and she's been fine, but I kind of feel like it's more her name versus necessarily her talent on this one. So
Well, like, do you remember Bon Jovi's movies?
I remember, I think one of them. There was some World War II movie that I think he was in.
He was in U-571.
There you go. That's the one.
But that's the thing. Like, so the reason that I bring this up and the reason that I use him as an example is he really didn't stand out as Bon Jovi in that movie.
Right.
He was wearing a stocking cap and he was wearing pea coat and all that stuff. And unless you knew what you were looking for, that was like, I think that was the start of his short hair phase.
Yeah.
You didn't see him with short hair before that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that a lot of singers, if they're really good performers, they're naturally acting anyway. You know what I mean? They may be acting like when they give a believable song and they're not just stumbling through the song and they generate emotion through the song, they're kind of acting.
Okay.
So when I ask if you think that it's just her name or if she can act, it's is it a vehicle for her? Like Madonna had a couple of them that she tried with, and some of them worked, some of them didn't.
I know Dick Tracy was the pinnacle of her acting career.
If you say so. I thought she was all right in At Close Range and
James Bond. She was in James Bond. She was died another day.
I don't know about that.
She
not
was.
Not that I'm doubting you. I just don't recall her.
She was a fencing instructor or something.
Like she was in Desperately Seeking Susan. I didn't think that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Then I didn't watch her in the one that she did the soundtrack for.
I mean, she's no Prince.
Yeah.
How that man ever got a movie
Purple
made?
Rain, what did he act in? Did he act in anything other than Purple Rain?
Yeah, there was that, and there was another one that he. Let me see what it was. But yeah.
Well, I mean, other than basically his albums as films.
Prince videography.
Videography.
Well, I'm trying to find it.
Just look up IDBM with Prince.
Yeah, I guess. I thought that'd be faster, but it's not. But anyway, no, I mean, there were two films, if I remember correctly. And, yeah, there it was, Under the Cherry Moon.
Yeah, that's another one of his fucking albums. It's like Raspberry Beret and all that shit was on it, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like Raspberry Beret, but I couldn't tell you what what album it's on. He won an Oscar
For Purple
I don't
Rain.
know why, but yeah, probably. Oh yeah, and Graffiti Bridge. Yeah. So, 3 films.
Okay.
And he worked on Batman.
Okay, and then yeah, he worked on Batman, but he wasn't really in Batman.
No.
So, and then you think about like J-Lo.
Yeah.
There are Mark Wahlberg. There are plenty of people that turned a singing career or a performing career into acting careers. Lady Gaga has got to have something because she ain't very pretty. So, pretty soon.
I don't think she's bad looking. I mean, she's not gonna, be in my top 10 or anything. But I'm like, yeah. I've definitely seen fugglier people, so I've definitely been a fugglier person. Ah.
Well, I'm not judging by looks. I'm just saying she's not going to be a Playboy centerfold to make her money.
I think she's already showed off everything that Playboy would have.
She has acting chops, and she's got good acting chops.
Well, she seemed pretty good in that film. That was that remake. Is this Star is Born or something stupid like that? But
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's got the dude that played in American Sniper, right? He played Rocket Raccoon too, right?
Yeah.
Bradley.
Yeah, whatever his name is. He was also in Limitless. That's actually my favorite movie with him. He was also in the A-Team.
Yeah, I know he was in the A-Team, but there was a lot of actors in the A-Team, so I didn't want to go. That guy was in the A-Team.
But not many of those were in Limitless, which is a great film.
I liked it all right. I don't think it was great. I actually didn't think it was all that memorable.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the TV series too.
Well, that might have been part of it.
I wish they had done more of the TV series. They had some really interesting threads that they made and then never really followed up on.
Bradley Cooper, and he was in something else too, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, he was in Guillermo del Toro film recently that I actually loved, if I remember correctly.
What?
Hold on. There's a film he was in relatively recently. Nightmare Alley. I freaking love that movie. If you've never seen Nightmare Alley, I highly recommend. Yeah, it's just, I love that movie. Yeah, Guillermo del Toro did that one. That's what I thought. Yeah.
That's not the one that I was thinking of, though.
It's got William Dafoe in it and stuff. It's just so good. Like
I thought Michael Keaton was saying Willem Dafoe is in the new Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I know it was somebody that was a name that I was surprised, but then I went, yeah, that's the perfect person to join that cast.
See, that is another example of something that I might go watch, not because I want to watch it, but because I want to see if it works. Like, I was never overly fond of Beetlejuice, the
Why
original.
wouldn't it work though?
Well, because it's been, I don't know, like 30 years or 40, I don't know how many years, 30
Yeah,
years.
but he's a poltergeist. He's dead.
I get it,
So
but,
so why wouldn't it work in any time period after he died, right?
I don't know. Like, how do you, I don't know.
Well, I'm just asking why you think it wouldn't work if you're saying that you would go see to see if it worked.
Well, because he's the villain in the first one, because
He's not the villain in the first one.
who?
The
What, you think
person that wants to destroy the house is the villain in the first one. He's an enigma, or maybe even an anti-hero. But
no,
yeah, because Gina Davis and the Baldwin,
yeah.
whoever the Baldwin was, those were the ones that were the actual protagonists. But the ones that want to destroy the house and all that stuff, that's what they got Beetlejuice to stop them from destroying the house.
Yeah,
Or
but
to
then
get
he
their
was going to
house
take
back.
Winona Ryder as his wife, and
Well,
they
yeah,
really,
I didn't say he was a good guy. That's why I said, maybe even anti-hero, but he was an enigma. But he wasn't the villain of the story. The villain of the story was who drove the good guys to go get him. It wasn't the same guy that was the bad guy in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? The principal.
yeah. Yeah, but I don't, no. Because
I think
again,
this is supposed to be an
the
illustration
parents,
of the cure is worse than the
the
problem.
parents don't get defeated. It's Beetlejuice that gets defeated. So therefore, I would
In
argue
the
that
end, he does, but like I said, I think it's an illustration of the cure is worse than the disease or whatever.
yeah,
But
just
their plans to destroy the house do. They get defeated. Or they learn to accept it or something. It's he's not posed as the villain. He just becomes a problem.
I just, yeah, I kind of want to see where it goes, I guess, but huh. Okay, I don't know about that review, but this review of Nightmare Alley, I was getting ready to close the screen, and it's one of the finest psychological. I don't know about that, but it was still good. I enjoyed it.
Did you watch Crimson Peak?
I have not.
I liked that. I took my son Logan to go see it, and he's not a big horror movie fan. This was really, it was kind of a return to a kind of gothic horror. Oh crap! I did that backwards. I guess I'm gonna have some white paint on two pieces of it now.
Uh-oh.
Damn it.
Janet.
all that exactness of trying to get these checkerboard patterns right or the black and white pattern right, and then I go and screw it up trying to color the broken chunks. Hate it when that happens.
So I take it you're not a fan of Bob Ross?
Why would you say that?
Because you did not have a happy little accident.
Well, whether I'm a fan of Bob Ross or not has nothing to do with this being a happy little accident.
Oh, goodness. You know, I just got to get my...
Bad joke in?
Yeah, I got to get my joke in. Because, you know, when you mess up live on stream, that's got to be super relaxing. Oh, and then to have someone make fun of it has got to make it even better.
Yeah.
I'm a great friend. Because it's what I do.
Right, because what you don't do is draw on stream.
We could do that one time. I'll draw on stream.
You're welcome to pick up a pen and paper anytime you want to.
And they will all laugh and chuckle. They'll be like, what the hell is this guy doing? There was a webpage years ago, like before my children were born years ago. And it was a guy, basically, he was critiquing like preschooler art. And it's so
Why would
mean.
you do that?
Oh, it is just, it's on one hand, it's just mean. Just mean. But on the other hand, it's also hilarious. Because he's going through and he's like, what the hell is
very
this supposed
hilarious
to
to
be?
me.
A flying turd? Like, it just goes on and on about how whoever it is apparently sucks and just what you would never say to a small child. But in all reality, I mean, let's face it. No, Timmy, you can't stand on the roof and hold up the sun. I mean, it's just stuff like that. It just, I don't know. Part of me just chuckled quite a bit when I read that. It's that mean streak. I got to have a place to vent every once in a while. There was another website, which sadly I've recently found out has become defunct. It was, you can still get to thesneeze.com, but there was one section on it called Please Steve Don't Eat It. And he ate stuff like potted meat product or chicken of the forest, which is a mushroom. And then like natto, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's gross. Or like there were like silkworm pupas that they eat in Japan. I forget what it's called, but he tried that. Tried bacon strips to see if they taste like bacon. You know, just various things like that. And oh, first time I read it, I about wet myself. I was just laughing so hard. Completely not work appropriate, but it was. Uh, he drank. He made prison wine. He found a box of C3POs that were like 20 years old, and it opened it up, and he's like, "No, tastes fresh." But I don't know. Sometimes those things just tickle my fancy. It's the dark humor part. Or like, have you ever read the reviews of like sugar-free gummy bears on Amazon?
Why would I do that?
Oh, oh, let me see if I can find this, and I will read it for you.
Well, the thing is that I don't like gummy bears, so why would I be reading reviews about gummy bears? It kind of seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, you would think so, but no, it's great. If I can find it. Oh. Okay. Let's see if this is the right one. I think it is. Yeah. Here. Let me read this. This is from 2014. By Emily Hesseltine or Hesseltine, or I don't know, but whatever. It was my first deployment, and I had been missing a lot of stuff from the States. I could get gummy bears at the PX here, but not sugar-free, and with the Army weight regulations, I try to keep my snacking healthy. Thus, when I saw a 5-pound bag of sugar-free gummies, I couldn't help but putting the order in. The gummies shipped in a very fast manner, and I was relieved to notice that none of the gummies appeared to have melted or been damaged in any way. When I got the bag, I was somewhat shocked, seeing for the first time how much 5 pounds of gummy bears actually is. I know there would be no way for me to consume them all alone. Luckily, we had a range later that week. I stashed the gummies in my wall locker until the range. On the day of the range, we all sat under some camo nets we had put up to protect us from the sun as we waited our turn to qualify. During this time, I broke out the gummies. Everyone was stoked. We all sat around chatting as we ate delicious, soft, swishy gummies washed down with raw detain water. I don't even know what that is. So far, the range had been going smoothly. Soon it was my turn to fire. I was given range 3, and I immediately got into prone, as this range starts off in the prone supported position. I adjusted my sandbags, and that's when I realized something wasn't right. Hold on. Oh. You want to show Murphy?
You can. I just fed him a bit of donut.
Oh.
Super healthy, I know.
The Murphy is on screen. Oh, the Murphy. Okay, take the Murphy.
He's always squirmy.
Anyway, back to my review. It starts with just a gurgle and then a grimacing pain. I could hear the range control over the loudspeaker. Firers, prepare to fire. Lock and load your weapons. Gurgle. The noise was terrible. The pain was horrific. I tried to focus on the target, but my vision started to blur, and sweat poured into my shooting eye. All the while, firers, place your selector switch from safe to semi. I could no longer feel my hands. They had gone numb. I realized at that moment I had to go. And I mean go. And then, firers, at this time you may fire your weapons. I didn't move my switch from safety. Even if my hands weren't numb, I wouldn't have trusted myself with a loaded weapon. Now I had another problem. The range was hot. I heard firing all around me. I weakly fumbled with my weapon and placed it in a safe position. The range safety came up to me. Soldier, is there something wrong? The look I gave must have said it all. The safety waved his paddle and the call was made. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. I was up and looking for relief. Perhaps the other soldiers stopped firing, but my colon had just begun. I rushed to the porta-johns to find they were all filled up. Of course, I had shared those gummies with at least 10 other troops. The noises coming out of those porta-pots will cause PTSD for many years to come. I thought for a second about finding a place out of sight. However, it was futile. I was in the desert. You could see for miles all around. Then I remembered the Nationals had a porta-potty, and likely no one else knew it was there. It was under the range control tower, surrounded by a small fence. I rushed as quickly as my condition allowed, clenching my cheeks and praying to every god I had ever heard of. I made it and found it was unoccupied. I opened the door to find, in my dismay, an Eastern toilet. I don't even know what that means. I began to take all my gear off in a hurry, while small amounts of air slipped past my cheeks with a liquid-like feel. Oh, gods, I thought. I clenched tighter, ripping my boots off. I could tell I would need all my clothing off, as this was likely to cause an immense backsplash. Finally disrobed, I allowed the release. It was a clumpy tidal wave of destruction. The smell was nothing of this world. I tried not to vomit as my anus took on a will of its own, expelling this thickness from my system. After I looked down in horror at the Eastern toilet, realizing there was no way that this was going to drain properly, I accepted defeat at my attempt to clean up the terrible, smelly, gummy soil and wash myself up with some baby wipes I so mercifully had in my ACO pocket. I put my clothes on and stumbled out of the toilet. As I walked, one of the natives walked by me. I tried to warn him, but he didn't understand. I only heard him cry out, "Allah!" as he slammed the door, walking away from the porta pot, looking at me with fear, the eyes telling it all. He couldn't understand how that could have come out of a human being without killing them. In the end, 10 troops were given saline solution for dehydration from the terrible gummies. Our unit swore a vow of secrecy to never speak of this experience again. With one other our unit swore a vow of secrecy to never speak of this experience again with one another because of the backflashes that some of us still have. Thanks, Haribo. And that's not even the worst one. All these people who tried these sugarless gummy bears, and they're all diuretics. All of them. So, I've seen them. Yeah. And if you're after an unforgettable experience that will make you question your life choices, dig into a bag of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. They may not be the tastiest treat, but they'll surely give you a wild ride you won't forget. Buckle up, folks, and enjoy the explosive adventure. Just the weird things I like to read.
Yeah, usually I read fiction. I don't generally go down the rabbit hole reading reviews on gummy bears.
Tell her to look for sugar-free ones. Oh, God, this one's about someone who took some right before a test. Oh, God. It's so bad. I'm not even reading some of this, but I went home, dug a hole in my backyard, and burned the remaining bag of gummy bears. Do not eat these spawns of Satan. Good times. Ah. I'm just saying, in case you ever want a tasty treat, try some sugarless gummy bears and see how long it takes before you too run to the bathroom. I remember one Christmas,
You
my
do
brother.
know that a lot of sugar-free stuff,
Yeah,
the sweetener,
it's a diuretic.
yeah.
See, I learned about that from my grandmother had diabetes, and my brother got her some sugar-free chocolates. She also had dementia, so she didn't like. This is going to be terrible, but oh well. That Christmas, we got her some slippers and some crossword puzzles. A bundle up, and she opened up. Oh, slippers, fantastic! You know, sweet little grandma. And then she opens up. Oh, look, crossword puzzles. Great, I love these. You know, sweet little grandma. And then she'd look over. Oh, slippers? Just what I needed. I mean, it was like that for like a good hour. She, would just go from one to the other because she had forgotten about them that quickly. So my brother got her sugar-free chocolate. She didn't know how much she ate. I think she ate the whole box in one sitting. And my aunt was pissed because she's the one that had to clean it up. And that's where we learned sugar-free food is normally a diuretic.
I don't know if I say it's normally, but I do. Definitely the sweet stuff.
That's what I mean, like the candy.
Right, but there are some that's not. But most of them, the sweet stuff, the candies, the candy bars. Actually, some gums.
Yep. They made fun of that on House. The guy was quitting smoking, but then he kept having diarrhea. And he was like, chewing gum a lot. Yep. Sugar-free. Yep. That's it. All those sugar alcohols that they like to use.
Right. It sounds like the saga continues.
Oh. Is your son still facing distress?
Yeah. If not dysentery.
Tell him to stop making fun of Terry.
It'd be a lot funnier if he really could make fun of somebody. The closest he comes to making fun of somebody is Amanda will sing something in the car, and he's like, "Don't sing it."
I forget what it was. It was last night. My wife said something. She was singing something, and my son was like, "Oh, do you know who sings that?"
About them.
Yeah. My wife caught on that one real fast. Not me, I know.
Me now.
Yeah.
And now you got a free concert for the rest of your natural born life.
Which is going to be very, very quick.
Yeah, I think I'm allowed to say jungle, man.
I always figure if someone doesn't want you to sing it, you should sing it louder until they like it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
Now you're going to hear it forever. Forever. So we've got to figure out which days we want to talk writing instead of being an art production.
Well,
Or which day? Maybe we do it on a Thursday or on a Saturday, whichever is less likely to be busy. As opposed to adding strings to the schedule. Being focused on writing for one stream.
That's kind of weird.
Somebody was speeding by you.
Yep. That was the one thing about the eclipse I was kind of annoyed with. Is that, and this is me being a curmudgeon, but people were shooting fireworks and honking their horns, and I was thinking, why do you think this natural event, this celestial display needs embellishment with your horn or your explosives?
Maybe they're like, "Yay, God, do it again."
Well, okay.
I don't know. They do that shit at the grand finales too, and fireworks displays, and I'm like, it's a light show, not a horn show.
Well, I think the horn is the kind of like clapping for that, but
Well,
I don't think you need to clap for a I don't think the moon or the sun hurt us. So that's
Well, I
just
don't
kind
believe
of
with the moon or the sun. They were trying to say hurt us, right?
sure. They were thanking the aliens for landing. I don't know. I don't know. Was it? I was like, just be in the moment. Just appreciate what's there. But no. And it wasn't like I needed like silence or something. It wasn't like I was like, shh, don't talk. That wasn't what I was. I'm just saying. I don't think your blasting of a horn was anything more than you wanted attention.
I'm showing my web connection is popping up and down, so I don't know what's going on. It's the second time I've looked over and the second time I've seen something other than what I expected.
Well, so far it's looking good on my end. So you haven't like blurred or slowed down.
Well, that's good. I'm seeing like almost non-existent here, so.
That's weird.
And that's how you salvage that.
Yeah.
You don't see a black chunk in the middle of that anymore.
Yeah, I see that. I just thought it was a really big gouge.
Yeah, it didn't look like a really big gouge to me. It looked very wrong. So I fixed it.
Yeah, you did.
So it doesn't look wrong. Or at least doesn't look as wrong.
That's always better.
So the irony is, now I'm doing the background first. When it should have been the background first when I was drawing.
Yeah.
But the one good thing about doing the background last is you're sure it is where you need it. Now,
Hey, Jotron26 said, "Man, that looks amazing." Thank you, Jotron. Welcome to the Gordox Pub.
Huh?
Said, uh-oh.
Mhm.
Everything's turning sideways.
Well, because I can't reach the part from that angle that I need to do for the background. So
Wow, he is really faded out on this one. Like the way the light's shining on it, it's just
yeah,
like I can see his legs and whatnot, but I can't see the pencils on him. And hers are really faint.
yeah, because it's that bright setting. But I
Yeah.
hope that it would pick up the. Let me stop my camera for a minute.
Okay.
So I can change the settings and we'll see it better maybe.
That's Joe's self-portrait. He's the one in the back.
Joe's self-portrait.
Not Joe's, Rich's. I may be a little stupid. It happens. So you're trying to switch cameras so that we can pick up the...
I'm switching the filter back,
Okay.
but I can't make any adjustments on my camera while I'm using it.
Oh.
So now that I've adjusted,
Big reveal. Big reveal.
give me a second.
Okay.
Well, that's where it is on the original setting. So
I can see that better on the original. A lot better, actually.
yeah, because I turned it and the glare would be picking it up from the other side. So
Oh.
as you mentioned.
Well, I mean, part of me didn't. You're going to ink it, so it doesn't really matter. It's just you can't see a lot of it until you ink it, I guess. Which by itself is kind of an interesting process then, because look what's magically revealed. That kind of stuff.
It's only because there's so much contrast now. Because if you remember, the whole time that you've been watching before, it was you were actually watching the pencil it.
Yeah. That's what we need. We need like a riff on you know that opening monologue for the A-Team? You know, 4 guys were framed or arrested something for a crime they didn't commit, blah blah blah. And if you can find them and all this stuff, maybe they can help you or something, whatever it is. We need to take that and then turn it into About Us for our intro. Because I'm sitting here wondering, how did Jotron26 ever find us?
Well, he's on Twitch.
I get that. And
So I'm guessing it was on, like, if you look on the left-hand side on Twitch, you see what you've followed, but you also see related if you scroll down.
Right.
So we might be in one of those categories.
Oh, that's cool.
Or he might have come from the David Finch fan server, any of the discords that I regularly spam.
Discord it is. Well, thank you for coming here, Joe.
Yeah, much appreciated. And talking.
Yeah. Left a comment and everything. 2 of them. I like that.
Normally on Twitch, this is where they pitch who they are and what they've done and what their qualifications are and all that.
Joe said, yeah, no problem. I'm just trying to improve. I hope it's okay if we just call you Joe, Joe-tron.
Yeah, very cool. Like, if there's any way we can help you, just, ask or let us know. Or
Yeah.
One thing that's really good about the Twitch community is that they're very helpful, especially the art community.
Joe said, yeah, I'm just starting out, so I'm just manipulating different basic shapes in space to get a better understanding of them and perspective. Cool.
Yeah, that's a good way to start out. It's actually an excellent way to start out. So I've got different size pens and different size pen tips and markers and everything else,
Yeah.
which I'll be using for different aspects. For those that are trying to learn. But as always, any tool, it's not really the tool, it's how the artist uses it, how they feel with it. Like, I definitely wouldn't feel right working with a brush trying to do these kinds of things.
That's what I told my wife. It's not the tool, it's how I use it.
And then you were like, I definitely wouldn't feel right working with a brush.
That's right.
It's a good thing that your wife doesn't really care about how you how you work with a brush.
Joe said, I'm just using a basic pencil right now. It's not like there's going to be a pen that's going to make me draw like McFarlane or Jim Lee, so best to stay with something basic. And later, I can move to different things. That is very accurate.
I use, actually, on YouTube, in my description box, I tell you exactly what I use, but for the most part, it's, I use an H3, and really an H2. Sometimes, like if I'm using, depending on what I'm drawing, I'll use like a 2B, but that's a really loose charcoal-y feeling pencil. Kind of leaves like a residue. It would be hard to ink over that because that residue will clog up. This is not a felt tip. It looks like a felt tip, but it's actually a hard piece of plastic that is split up into like a pen, like a calligraphy pen. So it would still clog it just like a felt tip, though. It's a really good idea to not think of your instruments as the key to the success. It's not what you're using. It's how it work, how you can manipulate it, how it works with your intent. I've known people that can do with a ballpoint pen what a lot of people can only do with a paintbrush. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Like, never feel like if something you're doing doesn't turn out like Jim Lee or somebody else, that it's because of the equipment. It's not. It's sometimes trying to use somebody else's preferred mediums will actually make it harder for you to get the desired effect.
Joe said that was true.
I know.
Yeah, Joe. Oh, well, it's the Gordox Pub. You wanted to know your YouTube, the same as your Twitch. And
Yeah, my Twitch is RichWare1 because that it basically is it runs with the name that you sign up with. And you could find my YouTube channel if you look under Rich Ware, but Gordox Pub is the actual name.
Yeah, the big giant sign on the screen. No, I'm not making fun. I'm not trying to make fun of anything. I'm just thinking that's the best way to find it. I think is Gordox Pub.
Yeah, that's usually what I recommend.
And with my wife,
that's an overlay on the screen, though.
My wife, and then a friend of mine, when I was talking about the Gordox Pub, they heard Gordox, not Gordox. Right. So that's why I point out the big sign, because it's spelled that way.
Yeah.
Of course, I spelled it for my friend, and he said nothing. So we all made fun of him. So.
And for me, I'm like, what is a Gordox?
Yeah, that's what my wife wanted to know. What's a Gordox?
Well, it's an ox that's had horns rammed into its underbelly.
Well, I told you she was singing Down in the Boondocks, but she was making it down at the Gordox.
Yeah. You did tell me.
Hey, you wanted an intro. There you go.
Yeah, that's not the intro I want.
Why not?
You want me to just tell you honestly or make up something nice?
About what?
Why I don't want that as an intro.
Oh, I can guess why you don't want that as an intro. You can't handle that awesomeness, and
yeah. Here's your lame back. You're laying back.
Oh, hey, Jay's here. On YouTube now. Oh, he was already here. Same shit. Never okay. I was confused. Jay said I drew one page of practice feet a while back, and I feel like that made all the difference. And probably the most significant improvement he's made in a while. That's cool. Practice feet, huh? That's like where you're like you draw rocks and stuff that can cover the feet, so you don't have to draw the feet. I think that's fair, right?
I think they're referring to the David Finch fan server and practice.
Practice.
But, you know, I could be wrong. I would be the first to admit it.
That was probably the coolest thing a teacher's ever done. I had a professor in college, drawing class, and he told me to pick out like my top 3 drawings. So I did. And he's like, cool. And he took them. He's like, these are some of the drawings that I saved back that I haven't given you back yet. And he laid them out. He's like, because they were all dated. And he goes, all right, so you like these? All right. So he's like, he basically went through and talked about, like, for each of the dates, he's like, this is how many classes you had missed before this drawing. And he's like, and all the crappy drawings were after I had skipped class several times. And the ones that I thought were the best, he's like, yeah, you were in class for like 3 weeks straight before you drew that. He's like, you got to keep practicing all the time if you want to get better. And I took that to heart, which is one of the reasons why I gave up drawing.
Well, practice never hurts.
No, it doesn't. I just could write better. I felt like I could write better, and I could. It was cheaper, So I think I dropped like $1,000 in 1 month for an art class, just buying brushes and oil paints and stuff. And my parents were like, "Well, we support you in all that you do, but we're not financially supporting that." So I took the hint and dropped my art classes and stayed with the English classes. And
So
overall,
we talked you right out of a career in art.
or they talked me into a career of writing. It's all about perspective.
A career in writing equals a lifetime of trying and not getting anything done.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's part of the problem with like I'm kind of scared to try drawing again because I'm like, wow, it's been so many years since I've practiced. I'm gonna suck, and oh my goodness, I'll suck. And it's just stupid, self-defeating talk.
Right? So compared to what?
Yeah, to doing nothing. I don't know.
Well, see, that's the thing I'm talking about is to suck. You're having to compare yourself to something or someone, right?
Right.
And I keep telling people repeatedly, as far as art goes, don't ever compare yourself to somebody else. And the reason that you don't compare yourself to somebody else is you don't know how far into their journey they are. You don't know how long they've spent trying to perfect that one thing that you look at like they made it easy. It may not have been easy at all. It may have been a lot of work. And generally, skill, that comes from a lot of work.
Well, I think
it is self-defeatist talk, and the thing that everybody needs to remember is that it is a journey. It's not a destination. You're not going to ever be perfect. You're not going to ever be to the point where you can just pull that out of your ass. It's going to always be work, whether it's, you may learn body parts and anatomy by rote or something like that, but you're never going to be able to just draw something you haven't ever seen and get it right the first time because you've practiced drawing. That's not the way it works.
Right. Well, I think
I want to reassure people that it isn't the way it works, so that they don't get to believing that this is easy for anybody.
No, my problem is I'm kind of scared that I'm not going to be as good as I used to be. So,
but you know what? As as you get older, what you have that you didn't have that you didn't have when you used to draw is a discerning mind. So now you have something that you're going to have something that you want to draw instead of just drawing for the sake of drawing.
Did you see there was an article going around about Shogun, that series that you're watching, and it questions, I guess, why there are no black actors in the show?
Because they're idiots.
It's like, Asia?
Well, not only Asia, it's Asia in the 16th century.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just saw
Well, I'm
that.
saying, like, the 16th century should have been a clue. That's why I can't stand what they're doing with the Winter King, which is Bernard Cornwell's Arthurian story, because they have Merlin as a black guy, and there's no fucking way. Merlin's derived from an insane priest. And in 561 or something AD, there was no black priests in England. Sorry. Facts are facts. I hate to deprive the perpetually offended generation of anything, but they don't even realize how dumb it sounds.
Well, when I saw that, I was just like, really? Like, I'm pretty certain I know the answer to this one.
Right? I'm not a scholar.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care as much. Like, people got all butthurt about the Ring of Power. I think it's whatever it was on Amazon. I never watched it. The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the Rings of Power.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah. People got all butthurt because there were black characters. I'm like, it's a fake land. Who cares? And I realized that Tolkien was going off of Nordic, mythology and blah blah. I'm like, I don't care. It's a fake world.
You don't care, but some people do.
Well, okay, but
because Tolkien is like Shakespeare. He has people that have been researching him and in-depthly researching his world for a long time. So now I'm not saying that any species shouldn't have multiple ethnicities. I don't have a problem with that. But if you watch it, really anything but black guys or women are evil or traitors.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to watch it.
And that's the real problem. It's not, it's not that they're representing anybody or representing all races or whatever. It's that it's one of those things where they spent all this money on getting a Tolkien thing, and then the white people or the cis whatever are the ones that are treated wrong or like bad guys as far as characters go. And that's something that's not really... Tolkien was a white guy, like, hello.
Yeah. My biggest problem was, they had source material, and you didn't really necessarily have a full good story, but you got a lot of source material.
So they kind of used some of that source material.
Yeah, but they also made their own.
They just twisted it, is what it is.
Yeah. So
that's what that faction is really meant, or really does, right? So,
I guess. I know.
That's really what they do. They twist regular characters instead of creating their own characters, or twist things to fit a certain narrative that shouldn't exist in that fantasy world in the first place. That is the real heart of it, right?
Well,
there shouldn't be modern politics in a fantasy world that actually was created to explain a mythology or create a mythology for England.
Right.
That's what Tolkien said he was doing, is creating a mythology for England.
Well, that's like... So I have the one story that... It's not a very good one, so I'm not really shopping it around. I forget it.
You're not alone.
It got at least honorable mention. It might have gotten silver honorable mention at Riders of the Future, which makes me laugh because that's not as good of a story as the one I just submitted that got nothing. But hey, whatever. Not that I'm ranting, but so it's got, yeah. So it's got the characters that they're more advanced than anyone else, basically. And they infiltrate places, and so when they do, they just physically shapeshift. And um, once I did that, I was like, no, wait, that would make, I think it would make perfect sense that you could have a character who's non-binary when they're literally changing bodies all the time,
Right.
and
Because, well,
they're not
no,
inhabiting
no.
someone else's body; they're making one for themselves.
So the only issue that I would have with that is are they creating a non-female or non-male body? Because that's what non-binary means. It doesn't mean that they can't be either or. It means that they're something other.
Well, I would say that because in that particular universe, it's more like a Star Wars or Star Trek. You know, there are all kinds of aliens, and they do all kind. You know, so yeah, it literally is. It's literally they're changing into different species. So
Okay. So there's
you know,
something other than a male or a female.
yeah, and, and yeah, but the idea for the character, I thought, well, that would he wasn't the main character, but I thought it would make perfect sense for him to not necessarily, to be trisexual, where you try anything. He was a hedonist, and that made perfect sense. I was like, everything about this makes perfect sense. I think, I found that to be an intriguing character. Like I thought, this is a character I don't have to destroy anything. I don't have to make some well-known property into any. See, I would much rather explore this guy, who's my creation, and just the. My only problem with that particular story was that it just wasn't that good of a story. Like the character's interesting, so it's one of those things that I just kind of put in the back pocket, and if it ever works out, I'll write it out. But I think part of the problem with that one is I can't quite figure out I'm going to say magic system, but it's really science, I guess. Also,
That's the whole sci-fi is
yeah,
the science of the future is the magic in a sci-fi story.
sort of. I mean, it's one of those things where you start, okay, so these are really advanced beings, and I wasn't sure if they were just going around to different planets or if they're going to different like multiverses. And I really, when Marvel started doing multiverse, I was like, yeah, definitely not multiverse. But they the idea, I mean, the kernel of the idea was that they would recruit people to become here, like they would mentor people into being heroes wherever they were, and they're directed to do this by some far future alien race that already knows how it's supposed to play out. Kind of a quantum leapish type thing, in that they're trying to make sure the timeline's right or whatever. I don't know. Some of that stuff just got too complicated, and I couldn't ever make sense of it quite. So until I do, it's kind of on the shelf.
Right. If you don't make sense of it, then how do you expect anybody else to?
My only thing was eventually I wanted it to be so that you followed this character, the one that's the hedonist, sort of, except for each book would be about a different protege or a different person, and then eventually it would all come together. They would all work together and accomplish something, which I thought sounded fun. But then again, it's one of those things where it's like, that's a lot of pages, and you know how you feel about writers that can't end anything. So it's one of those things where it's there for me to kind of
Yeah, like it's
test
not
their.
can't, it's that they don't.
Well, okay.
But what they do in the process is screw it up for everybody else that wants to write long or write trilogies or whatever, because nobody else wants to see something get started that's not going to get done. The real problem is that I really liked most of those writers. They just never fulfilled their promise.
Yeah, that's always a problem. I mean, if you die, that's one thing.
Right, if
I guess.
if I spend a lot of money in 20 years invested in your characters, you better give me the ending you promised that you were going to give me. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to go the way that I think it should go, but you better give me something. Because I've spent a lot of money and a lot of time on it, and I deserve it, you know?
I prefer that. Otherwise, you feel like you're being taken advantage of.
Right.
And I mean, that's how I felt about Robert Jordan. I just felt like was after a while just spinning his wheels.
See, I didn't, even though his prose grew heavy, because he told us a lot of times that he didn't have any intention on ending all of the stuff that he started, because he didn't feel that's what happened in the real world. But he did intend on having an ending to the main story. We just never got to see what his ending should have been.
Well, I mean, supposedly Brandon Sanderson used his outliners.
Well, I meant from him. Like,
Yeah.
yes, Brandon Sanderson finished it, but
I just I don't remember which book it was. You know, I was in high school, I think. Might have been in college. So it's been a year or two. And the main character, Rand al'Thor, had gotten some sword that was supposed to make him super cool and powerful.
Galandoria.
And there was some old chick who,
I don't know if it was supposed to make him super powerful, but yeah, Calandor.
whatever, it was something. And then there was a catch, and I'm just like, oh god, it just felt contrived, and I don't know. I just that and they seemed like I was like this isn't progressing. Like I just did not.
Well, the
feel
catch was male magic users go crazy.
I don't know. I did not feel like it was progressing. So
Well, I did. I read almost all of the ones that Robert Jordan wrote before he died. But what turned me off is that he went back and did New Spring before he finished what he promised to finish.
now,
And New Spring was a prequel that was really about now I can't remember his name, the warder that was with them the whole time,
okay.
who was an interesting character, but like, because he came, Liam?
I don't remember.
something like that. But anyway, he was an interesting character. And he came from the Blighted Lands, which is where the Dark One is and all that. But it's not the story that we were supposed to be getting. You know, it wasn't the finish of.
Yeah. When Stephen King wanted to write an extra book, he made sure the original Dark Tower was done and then inserted another one. It's all good.
Yeah, except for that he didn't write that series straight through. He wrote a bunch of different things.
Oh, I know.
And Robert Jordan, that's pretty much all he was writing. Like, after he switched from writing Conan pastiches, and he wrote, actually, I don't know if you know this, but he wrote some kind of Southern Gothic romance stuff.
Yeah.
Because Robert Jordan was a pseudonym, and so was the name that he wrote under, which was Regan O'Neill, when he was writing the Southern Gothic stuff.
Oh.
It was just interesting to me.
Well, Rich, it's after 11, man. And
Oh, thanks for telling me.
I got to get observed tomorrow. So I kind of need to go.
All that bitching about not seeing the characters, and I'm starting to bring the
I wasn't
characters.
complaining. I said it was neat. I think it's a neat process. I really do. I think it's cool the way it disappeared. It's a more dynamic process than what what you think. But anyway, I got to go. So I will.
Good night.
Yeah, I'll catch you Thursday, right?
I'm sure we'll probably talk between now and then.
Yeah, probably. But definitely catch you on Thursday. I'll see you later, man.
All right.
Peace.
Well, I'm not stopping yet. I think. I want to get. For the record, this would be much easier to draw if I just took this clipboard out and sat on the couch and leaned back with it. But because I'm doing this on stream, it's a little bit more difficult. So I advise, if you've got the chance to work on something like this, or you're working on something like this, to feel free to be in a position where you can move around and spin it around and turn it. Definitely will make for less mistakes. I guess that's a good breaking point for the night. So we'll pick this up Thursday. But now you can see the main character. One of the main characters. Thank you guys for watching. Jay, thanks for hanging out. Joe, thanks for hanging out. Anybody else that hung out, thank you for hanging out. Feel free to make comments, leave comments, ask questions. Tell us whether you like the content, whether you like how it's going, whether you like watching. Good night. God bless. Much love.